Are you ready? Oh, I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's do this.
Let's do this thing, man.
The League Podcast.
Yeah.
How's it going, everybody? You got Dylan and Jay here with the League Podcast.
That's right.
All right. We had Monday Night Football. I was so close on my predictions. 34-31 ended up being
I gotta give it to you.
34.
That was a pretty good prediction on your part. I knew it was gonna be a high scoring game. I was thinking more 28-21-ish, but I mean right there. I mean that is
I just had a feeling there were a couple field goals, and there were. So, I mean, what a game. Carson Wentz.
Wentz, man. That guy on so many different plays, I was like, just wowed me. The one where he got tackled, there was a pile on top of him, and he escaped out the front of it for a 20-yard gain. I mean, Carson Wentz is unbelievable. That Eagles offense is looking sick. I mean, it's a good team, 5-1. They're a force to be reckoned with, undoubtedly.
They are. Absolutely. I mean, they're number one in most power rankings right now. I mean, they can't be beat. And it all goes to the credit of obviously Carson Wentz, but I mean everyone around him as well. And that defense is playing really well.
They are.
I mean, they have some weak corners or they're not even that weak. I mean, everyone's talked about their weak corners and how their pass defense isn't too hot. But I mean, there's some guys stepping up. Ronald Darby obviously hasn't played because of injury, and he should be back pretty soon. But they're definitely a defense that you can stream this week against who they playing. The 49ers, who the Cowboys played really well against. The Cowboys' defense is not good. So, I mean, they stepped up. Carson Wentz, of course, stepped up. Like you said, that play with him breaking a tackle or breaking a pile tackle. I mean,
he's got a cannon as well. I mean, you saw that long pass to that rookie. I mean, he's all around. He's my ideal quarterback, being able to move, being able to pass in the pocket. He's smart. That Eagles team looks super good. And like you said, that defense I feel is super underrated. And when they get Darby back, they're going to even be more of a force to be reckoned with. So that was a great Monday Night Football game. I had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, man. I mean, that Kirk Cousins, of course, played well.
And though Kirk is also, he's like one of 3 players to be, I think, 0-6 on Monday Night Football.
On primetime games. He just can't do it, man. He just can't do it. But
so it sucks for Kirk.
Yeah, he needs help. He can't do it all. He's trying to do it all, and he just can't do it. But anyways, great game. Carson Wentz, I mean, that guy is unbelievably good.
Real quick, too, right before we were talking about Terrell Pryor, I mean, is he even worth keeping around on your fantasy team at this point? I mean, Terrell Pryor has done diddly squat. He's scored 1 touchdown this whole season. And, I mean, I don't know if that's somebody that you want to try and trade away. You probably won't
try.
You won't get Nathan for him, but it sucks to just see someone like that sit and rot on your bench because you picked him in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. I mean, somewhere in that range, I feel like.
He was so high on my board until the preseason. I saw him on the preseason. I know for the same for you.
Yeah.
We were both really high on him and talked really highly of him. He had a great year with the Browns, which they had no quarterbacks here. Like Kirk Cousins is going to come in and make this guy a star. And they haven't had that connection. And sometimes you just go into systems and it just doesn't work out. So, in my opinion, I don't want him on my team. And obviously, like you said, try to trade him, but who's going to trade for him? Who's going to give up a decent player for him? I'm not holding him on my team. There's plenty of receivers out there, like our waiver wire segment yesterday. I would rather have those receivers on my team than him. Obviously you can wait around and see what he does, but now Josh Doxson has taken over that starting spot and he's gonna get more and more playing time. He's a first round pick, an old first round pick. So
and John Gruden came out saying that, Jay Gruden came out saying that they're drafted him to be the number 1 guy, and that's what he's gonna be. This last week got the most. He was on the field the most out of any of the receivers. So that goes to show they're putting a lot of faith in Doxson, and I think moving forward, Doxson is definitely the receiver to own in that offense.
I agree, but you also saw a lot of Vernon Davis at tight end, and
Jordan Reed came back to life.
He was in the slot. So
awesome.
they realized that Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis are 2 of the best receiving options on their team. So honestly, Vernon Davis is definitely an option for a tight end. If you're tight end needy and Vernon Davis is out there, I would pick him up. I mean, you look at his stats, he's been kind of consistent in the sense of getting you enough points because tight end position is really weak. I mean, it's pretty bad, So, in my opinion, Vernon Davis is definitely someone to take a look at if you need a tight end on your team.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, man. I mean, great game, like we said. What's his name? Rob Kelly didn't do much. He's back from injury. Chris Thompson scored a touchdown.
He's the guy to own in that backfield.
Absolutely. He's been very reliable. I mean, he's catching tons of passes. They are going to be – they lost Jonathan Allen, their defensive end or defensive tackle, whatever he is, and he was one of their best pass rushers. So there's not going to be tons of pressure on the quarterback. I mean, there was a decent amount, but Carson Wentz got out of it. Josh Norman's been hurt, so he was practicing today. So he might be coming back this week. I hope not because I got Dez and they play the Cowboys. So I'm hoping,
what's going to happen? Is Josh Norman going to shut him down? I hope they play.
He usually does.
That's an amazing matchup right there.
I know, but, man, Dez does not do too well against good corners. So in my case, I might even sit Dez. As crazy as it sounds, I might sit Dez if Josh Norman is healthy.
That's bitten you in the butt before.
It has. And I actually, I was at the Thanksgiving game last year where the Cowboys and Redskins played, and I was pretty disappointed. So,
well, yeah. So Monday night was a success.
It was.
I can't wait to dive into what we're getting into today, though. We got Week 8 matchups. Well, first off, I think you guys need to follow us at The League Pod on Instagram, at The League Pod on Twitter, and at The League Pod on Facebook. All across the board, at The League Pod. Give us a follow, give us likes, comment to us, all that good stuff. Today's segment, we're going to be jumping into Week 8 matchups. So we're going to be giving you the guys we think you should play, who we think is going to come out on top, all that good stuff. So, Dill, let's start them off. What do you say?
Yeah, Thursday Night Football. Who do you got? We got Dolphins at Ravens. I mean, we talked about Jay Cutler going down, Matt Moore being the quarterback. I don't know. Ravens do not look good. Joe Flacco does not look good. Their pass defense is pretty good, but their rush defense is terrible. You got a good running back in Jay Ajayi, who I think is going to tear them up, which is going to open up the passing game. If Devontae Parker's back, I mean, it might be a blowout. It might be a blowout.
It could be, but remember, Laremy Tunsil went out last game. That's a huge hit to their offensive line. To an offensive line who's already proven to be not that great. And I came into this season thinking they were going to be good, and they've proved completely otherwise. And if Laremy Tunsil doesn't play, that's going to hurt them. But at the same time, Matt Moore's proven to be a quarterback that slings the ball down the field and lets his receivers make a play.
You're right.
So, I mean, like you said, it could be a blowout. And on the Ravens side, Joe Flacco just simply isn't that former Super Bowl MVP. Like, he's proven to not be that guy anymore. He has the second worst QB rating in the league, only above rookie quarterback Deshaun Kaiser. Like, he's that offense, no run offense anymore, no pass offense anymore. They have their two receivers, Jeremy Maclin out with the shoulder injury.
Always hurt.
Perryman's out with a concussion, and then their other guy, Mike Wallace, he gets knocked out of last game with a concussion as well. So
even Ben Watson, he's been hurt all year.
Him as well. So no passing offense. They have a shaky run game. Their best offensive lineman is out for the year. Their pass defense is weak. And I mean, not weak, but not great. And their run defense is weak, simply. So I definitely think, even if Laremy Tunsil doesn't play in this game, I think that the Dolphins pull out with another win and they just keep the ball rolling. It's crazy to see Miami just keep getting these wins and pulling it off. But I definitely think this week, Thursday Night Football, Dolphins go into Baltimore and take the W.
Who you starting?
So I can't start Matt Moore. I don't even know if he's a streamer just because. I mean, maybe
I think he's a streamer.
He is. Maybe he is.
With his weapons and the way the what's her name's? The Ravens are playing. I mean, I think that Matt Moore is a potential sleeper.
You know what?
Or streamer.
I did see this stat that Jay Cutler in all 6 weeks or 7 weeks that he played, he had 4 passes for 25-plus yards. 4 all season. Matt Moore played a half a game, and he had 2 passes over 25 yards, already half of what Jay Cutler does. So, you know what? I absolutely – I take back what I said. Matt Moore, there's 6 teams on bye. I think it's 6 teams on bye weeks this week. So if you need to stream a quarterback, man, Matt Moore might look pretty damn nice on Thursday Night Football against the Ravens defense. That we
It is at
shown.
Baltimore, so that's a little nerve-wracking. But
the only one flaw that I see is that it's in Baltimore. But I
think the skill set of the Dolphins offense outweighs the skill set of the Ravens defense. And if they can get running the ball, which, like you said, their offensive line is pretty banged up and they've been pretty inconsistent. Like he's had some amazing games and he's had some really bad games. So
he's getting the workload. He getting all the carries. There's no competition, which is that good or bad? Like, does he need some help? Are they putting too much on Ajayi, or is this is what he's built for? I mean, this is supposedly what he wants. So
no, exactly. But he has been nagging injuries all year long. So his knee, his shoulder, his elbow, his pinky. I mean, this guy, he's pretty injury prone. So
totally.
I mean, I like him. Don't get me wrong. He's a great runner, but you need some help up front. And if they're not going to get that push up front, then they're going to definitely throw the ball a lot more, and it's going to be closer than I think. But from what my prediction is that they get up pretty big and they run the ball. And Jay has a decent game, scores his first touchdown of the year.
I like it.
He's still missing it. So I'm starting Jay Ajayi. Yep. I'm starting Kenny Stills.
Jarvis, so let me touch base on that real quick. If Devontae turns around and plays in some miraculous way, which I don't think Devontae Parker does play, but if he does, that takes away Kenny Stills a little bit from me. Personally, I think that I don't know if you start Kenny or Devontae Parker. I think Jarvis Landry is an obvious, easy start every
always. Yeah,
but it goes back to, if you were listening to our podcast yesterday, we spoke about Kenny Stills and Matt Moore's chemistry together. He looks at him, even if Devontae's in there. I mean, Kenny Stills is going to be in the slot or outside, and Matt Moore might look his way. I mean, he's a player that takes the top off of defense, and that it's just tough for me. I think it's too hard to make a decision on between Devontae Parker and Kenny Stills with Matt Moore at the helm, because Matt Moore likes Kenny Stills a lot. He could be that play. He could be that.
They have chemistry, and that's the thing about Devontae Parker is I put here that I would start Devontae Parker because of his skill set.
Yeah,
but do they have that chemistry that Kenny Stills and Matt Moore do? No, they don't. But I mean, you just got to see. You got to see what Devontae Parker does with Matt Moore in that offense. But if I have Devontae Parker, depending on who your other receivers are, I'm gonna put him in my lineup. I like Devontae Parker. I've liked what I've seen, what he's done. I mean, he's gotten you 10+ fantasy points every time he's played this year. So
every week, I mean,
he's
a 20+ point game as well. I mean, he is a great start. His ability, like you said, is second to none. And I just think it's going to be, like you said, you got to wait on it and kind of see what he builds up with Matt Moore. So it'll be interesting. So I think on the starts on the Dolphins side, obviously Ajayi, obviously Landry, and then I think Stills and Parker are both flex wide receiver 3-2 options. So
I agree. And like I said, if it's a blowout like I think it is, then I think you could start all three receivers. I think you could start Ajayi. I think you could stream Matt Moore. And I'm saying start the Dolphins defense. I mean, they are a good defense.
They've been sneakily good all season.
They have. So those are my starts. Obviously, sits. I'm not starting any of the receivers on the Ravens. Their tight ends, none.
I don't even know who's gonna be the receiver for the Ravens. I mean, they're gonna call up the practice squad.
That's why I'm not giving you any names, because I don't know. I mean, everyone's hurt. So I'm not rolling with any of them.
If there is a running back deal, are you starting Alex Collins?
Buck Allen.
Or are you starting Buck Allen? Okay,
I think they go down, and I think they throw the ball. So so I think Buck Allen will give you 10+ fantasy points.
That's insane to say on the Ravens offense. I mean, is that the only person that you're possibly even starting? He is in my book.
On my list, yes. He's the only one I'm starting. So I wouldn't even start the Ravens defense, who have been pretty good this year. I wouldn't even start them. I'm feeling pretty confident in the Dolphins offense. Well, we might come back around next week, and I might sound really dumb.
I think
pretty inconsistent.
I would never call you dumb, but I think that they will get to the quarterback. Their offensive line, the Dolphins' offensive line, just isn't good. And I just feel like they're going to get sacks, which could possibly lead to fumbles and turnovers. And even though I don't have the Ravens winning, I still think that defense is startable this week, undoubtedly. I think the Ravens can start, and Buck Allen you could start in a flex. But other than that, I'm not touching anything else on the Ravens.
Well, we'll talk about it in our Friday podcast. So let's move on to our next game. We got Sunday morning.
An
Vikings.
early game.
Yes, sir. Vikings at Browns. I guess not technically at Browns because it's in London at 6:30 a.m. So if you're an early riser, you'll be able to enjoy the game like myself.
And myself as well. I got Jerick McKinnon. I can't wait to wake up early with coffee and hope he's killing it.
And you know what? I think the Vikings blow out the Browns, but these London games, you just never know.
Jeez, so true.
And honestly, I feel like in the London games, one team just blows out the other team. And I mean, the Browns are winless. They haven't looked good. They don't even know who's going to start quarterback. They haven't named a starter yet. So you don't know what's going to happen in this game. I'm going Vikings all day. I'm starting the Vikings defense first and foremost. That is my number one defense for the week. Whoever's at quarterback, they're going to throw interceptions. They're going to do turnovers. They're not going to get anything going. Honestly, the only person on the Browns offense I'm confident in starting is Duke Johnson.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's running the ball and he's catching the ball. So,
yeah. But real quick on that, I mean, the Browns now start a crazy journey without their best offensive lineman and one of the best offensive linemen in the league, and Joe Thomas. So
you're right, man. You're right.
The Browns are so bad. I mean, they have averaged 3.9 yards per carry and have a completion percentage with both quarter or whoever's starting at 54.6 percentage, which is the worst in the league. And that was with offensive lineman Joe Thomas in the mix. So there's no way that the Browns offense gets it going even more than they did with Joe Thomas in that lineup. So I think undoubtedly the Vikings are going to exploit the Browns and get an easy win, which is going to set up a nice winning record. And who knows? What if Teddy Bridgewater comes back in week 10 or so and has a winning record and a team that has beautiful pieces around, a healthy Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, run game, and Jerick McKinnon and Latavius Murray, an offensive line who's actually doing really good. I mean, this team could really make a strong playoff run if the pieces come together. So that's going to be very interesting, and I think, like I said, Vikings take this easily.
No, I agree, man. I mean, you summed it up. I mean, Vikings are going to kill it. So let's move on to the next game. You covered everything I wanted to talk about. Chargers at Patriots. I don't know, man. I'm pretty interested in this game. There's a few players I'm definitely starting. Phillip Rivers. I'm starting Phillip Rivers. The Patriots defense has not been good. Don't let that last game fool you with Matt Ryan. He has not been good. The Chargers look good. They're on a 3-game winning streak. I mean, even those games they lost, they barely lost. So
yeah, it was close games.
Yeah, they were. So I'm starting Phillip Rivers. I'm starting Keenan Allen.
I think Keenan has a nice bounce back this week.
I do too. I mean, last game was obviously a little rough for me.
But how about the Chargers, dude? Stopping the Broncos to a goose egg, man. Like, Chargers, that is heavy duty right there. Broncos are a pretty elite offense in my book. And
I agree. I mean,
yes,
Trevor Siemian.
I guess it's week by week. They look so different every week. But
I don't know how I feel about Trevor Siemian, honestly. I don't know how I feel about him. Obviously, C.J. Anderson has proven to be a good player.
Yeah.
Demarius Thomas is a top flight receiver in the NFL.
Emmanuel Sanders, that's a big hit to take that.
It's a huge hit, and we saw that they couldn't get anything going. If they can't pass the ball, they can't run the ball. So first and foremost, they need to throw the ball before they try to run the ball, and it didn't work out for him, obviously. And so Chargers actually have a pretty good defense if you think about it. They did lose Jason Verrett for the season, so that was a hit on them.
And even so, they got a stingy pass defense even without Verrett. It's very surprising to me because I thought they would take a significant hit without him back there, and their pass defense has been incredible. On top of Ingram blows up every play on that defensive line. I feel like the guy's a monster. Bosa. I mean, like
Corey Liuget or however you want to say his name. I mean, their defensive front is amazing. I mean, their defense is amazing. Don't get me wrong, though. You're playing Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to put up points. It's going to be a good scoring game.
Totally.
I wouldn't start either defense.
Yeah, it's going to be I think it's going to be a high scoring game. They're going to be a total shootout. Phillip and Tom to the end are just going to be looking to win that game. But I have in my notes that I just don't see them coming in, and Tom Brady is just playing at his usual elite level. So I just don't think the Chargers come into Foxborough and take a W from the Pats. But I think there's a lot of fantasy relevancy in this game, undoubtedly.
No, I agree. I mean, I would start, Brandon Cooks. I would start my boy, Dion Lewis. Chargers do have a great pass defense, but their rush defense isn't the best. They did play well against C.J. Anderson last week because they couldn't get anything going, but you have Tom Brady. So they're not going to play the run like they did. I think Dion Lewis has a good game. I wouldn't start Mike Gillislee. As you can see, his snaps are going down, down, down. James White, he catches passes, so you can always use something like that in PPR.
He's going to be a flex play every week.
Absolutely. And who else? We got Rob Gronkowski, who's one of the best. He is.
I'm just making sure Chris Hogan's healthy. Yeah, he is. I mean, Chris Hogan's an easy start. He's the team. I think he's leading the team in targets.
He is.
He's easy start, obviously. But like we said, that pass defense is pretty stingy on the Chargers. So,
it is.
Tom Brady's elite, so we'll see that. But I got Patriots winning in Foxborough, undoubtedly.
I'm taking Chargers. I'm going Chargers. Get the upset. They're hot right now. I mean, the Patriots are actually pretty hot too. But I think the Chargers come in here, and I think the Chargers take it. And I think the Chargers continue to win, and they make the playoffs. They might even win that AFC West division the way it's playing out. The Chiefs, they started out so hot, and I mean, they've lost 2 straight. We'll see how they go this weekend, but they also have a tough matchup this weekend against the Broncos. So,
yeah. Broncos are going to come out looking
pissed. They're pissed. Yeah,
they're looking for blood. So,
well, I mean, I like the Chargers this week, even against the hot Patriots with Tom Brady. Let's go Chargers. Let's go LA.
They're not going into Foxborough and taking a W. It's not going to happen.
I think they are. I think it's a good game.
I know it's going to be a great game.
Exactly. I think it's a bounce back from Melvin Gordon too, who had a pretty disappointing week for fantasy owners. Start him. Start him. Start Keenan Allen. Start Phillip Rivers. Like I said. Anyone else on that offense? Oh, Hunter Henry. Hunter
Henry is definitely – he's
trending up.
Yep, undoubtedly.
He's coming up. And then Patriots, you're starting your normal, like we said.
Just your standard.
Just your standard. Let's go Chargers. Bears at Saints. What about that Bears defense against your Carolina Panthers?
So, Carolina Panthers, he's just saying yours because I got Cam, Kelvin, Devin. I got the whole trio over here. But go Pack, go. But anywho, I mean, Bears defense is, and we posted about it on social media. They're underrated. They got a nasty defense, and the Bears are always known for their defense. They really are. It goes back to Urlacher and even before then. But Bears, I can't get over those 2 plays, 75-plus yards, first time in history, returning it back like that against a Cam Newton who I think, and we talked about, has lost a lot of steam and is not playing with the same passion he did 2 years ago for his MVP campaign year. And but I still, in this game though, I just don't see the Bears going into New Orleans and taking a win. Drew Brees played like crap last week, and I think that he turns it around this week and does a lot better. But dude, Kyle Fuller is shutting down that side of the field on defense. I don't know. That defense is just sneakily.
Well, Eddie Jackson, the rookie, had 275-plus yard TDs a year to the date where he broke his knee or tore his ACL or something like that. Like, that guy came out. I mean, he's been athletic all year and made plays, but they have Leonard Floyd on the defense who's putting tons of pressure on the quarterback.
But, man, he's injury prone too. He came out multiple plays with, different things, and that's what scares me because when he's in the game, that's a different looking defense when Leonard Floyd is in the game. So if he at any point gets injured, that defense definitely takes a hit, and it scares me. But him on the field, that's a scary defense to go.
No, I agree. I do think that they have a lot of depth on that defense, which is what's helping them be successful. Like you said, though, they're not going to go into New Orleans and take it. I mean, the Saints are hot. The running game for the Saints is hot. They did do a really good job containing Jonathan Stewart and Christian McCaffrey last week, but Cam just doesn't look like Cam. Drew Brees at home, I mean, that guy is something else. So I'm starting Drew Brees. I'm starting.
You compare that hold on, with Drew Brees, you compare that with Michael Thomas because I just feel like Michael Thomas is scoring a touchdown this weekend. I have that feeling. He hasn't scored in the last 2 games, so I feel like Michael Thomas is getting on the board this week.
I agree. I think Michael Thomas has a game. Ted Ginn Jr., I mean, he has been pretty hot.
Man, I wanted to start him last week, and I couldn't get him on the waiver wire. I'm so disappointed because he got so much usage.
Dude, he's already taken. He's already taken. So
no, I said last week. I really wanted to play him last week, and he got taken on the waiver wire.
Yeah.
So that's where it hurt because I watched him last week and
tore it up,
man. Tore it up.
It's crazy because everyone's known him for just being a speedster and no hands, but he's actually I don't think he's dropped 1 pass this year.
He got glue or something. Those gloves, man.
I mean, Ted Ginn, I think I'm going to continue to roll with him until he messes me over, screws me over. So.
I think it's up until Willie Snead really starts getting back into this offense to where
Do you
Ted
think
Ginn's,
he will? Do you think he's going to get his spot back? Brandon Coleman's playing well.
He is. Brandon Coleman scores like every other game.
I know, dude.
It's I don't know. I don't know if they even really need Willie Snead to play in that same role because they have a firing offense right now.
No, absolutely. But
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but I mean, Willie Snead does add another element to the offense. He plays well. He played well last year. I mean, it seems like they've phased him out. I feel like, he's lost his spot and they're not going to roll with him unless there's another injury or someone just isn't performing. But at this point, I think it's pretty locked in at Brandon Coleman, Michael Thomas, and Ted Ginn as their starting receivers.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like all Saints offensive players this week.
I do too.
I like them all. I'd start Kamara. I'd start Ingram. I'd start, all the receivers we just mentioned. Of course, Drew Brees. And then you flip to that other side of the offense, the other side of the ball, the Bears. I think the Bears.
One person.
JH, right? Jordan Howard. That's who you're starting.
That's it.
And that Bears D though, are you taking a chance if you need to? I mean, is that somebody that you can? They might get a couple sacks. They could get a couple interceptions.
Their D is great, man, and they've played well. They put up 30 points last week. The week before, they put up like 15. So I mean,
and Drew Brees is coming off a 2 or 3 pick game. I mean, Bears defense I think is a streamer. If you need a defense, that's somebody that's like, okay, you got nobody. I mean, you have to go Bears. I think you can go.
But I don't know. I mean, like we talked about, Saints at home. I think the Saints do play really well, and I think Drew Brees plays well. Since Adrian Peterson has been traded, Mark Ingram's the #1 running back in fantasy football. So I'm rolling with him. I'm rolling with him until he proves me wrong. Alvin Kamara is catching multiple passes a game. He's like James White on steroids right now. He's also getting, 50-plus yards rushing a game. I mean, that guy is playing phenomenal. He's playing great football. Like we talked about, Michael Thomas scores a touchdown this weekend. Heck, Ted Ginn scores a touchdown as well. Let's go Saints. I'm going with that. Who dat?
Who dat? I hear you there.
Let's move on, huh? Let's go to the next game. Your Panthers. Your Panthers at Buccaneers.
At Bucks, man. Scares me, honestly, because watching Cam play last week, it took a lot out of me. I mean, there was nothing there. I mean, it seemed so lifeless, so emotionless. So in weeks prior, he had that fire in it, it looked like, but I don't know what it was this last week. It just looked like it's taking a toll on him. And this week, they've obviously lost offensive linemen, so it's getting even harder as this year is going on. Kelvin Benjamin is up and down. He's playing, but he's obviously not 100%. And their run game is really proven to be nothing. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey is a huge difference maker, but they just can't get that run game going, which helps out with the pass. Cam looks a little inaccurate at times, and it saddens me to say, but I think Bucks actually take this game. They're playing at Buccaneers Stadium, so I don't know. I think Bucks offense is just high powered, and they're not going to stop. They're going to be relentless when it comes to scoring on that Bucks offense. So it's really going to take a lot for Cam to keep up, honestly, which is crazy to think and say because I've always felt as if teams got to keep up with Cam, but Jameis Winston's young. That team is young, and they're going to look to score and get this W. So I think it's going to be real tough for the Panthers to come in and beat the Bucks at home this week.
So you're taking Bucks?
I am, yes.
Are you starting the Bucks defense?
No. I think that Panthers are gonna score points, undoubtedly. I'm not starting Bucks defense. I think both offensive sides of the ball you're going to get points out of.
Okay. Even though the Panthers couldn't even score on the Bears last week?
We just talked about the Bears being a very underrated good defense. I think that Cam just didn't really expect what he was going into last week. And I feel like he's going to come into Tampa Bay being more prepared. He knows what he's dealing with in a Buccaneers team. And I think that Bucks take it simply because they're at home and because they have more firepower on that offense, really. I mean, that's what it comes down to me. And the Panthers' just defense, out of the two defenses, Panthers looks worse to me than the Bucks do. The Bucks aren't great by any means, but I think the Bucks have the week this week. I'm not starting the Bucks defense, but I think they come out with the W.
Yeah, man, I agree. I mean, the Bucks. I mean, Jameis Winston and himself had an AC sprain, came out of the game 2 weeks ago against the Cardinals. I actually picked up the Bills defense and was really confident in starting him because I was like, oh, he's hurt. He's AC sprain in his right throwing shoulder. I mean, he's not going to do anything. What'd he do? He came out and dominated. I mean, he looked amazing. Mike Evans obviously is a must start every week if you have him on your roster. I'm starting him no matter who you're playing. Deshaun Jackson, he's like a hit or miss.
He's a flex play if you need to. So, and I've started. He very, very easily can get you over 10 points. You know, and I think this game could be a high scoring game. So this could be a good game for D-Jax. I mean, look at what their tight ends did, or what OJ Howard did last week. You know, I mean, I don't know if OJ Howard is. We talked about him being another stream option. You know, and that's someone that you could maybe put on your bench and have in there. And play from time to time. So I hear you, though, on that offense. And then Doug Martin, you can't not play him. He's getting all the work. He's getting all the looks. So I think and last week the Bucks were throwing the ball. They had to throw the ball to stay in that game. So Doug Martin kind of got taken out of that game. So if they can really start running the ball this week, Doug Martin's an easy 15-plus points.
I agree. So I'm starting Cameron Brate. I don't know if I'm starting O.J. Howard as a tight end. I kind of want to see more out of him. Doug Martin, I'm starting, of course. Who are you starting on the Panthers?
I honestly, I'm so lucky, not lucky. I'm smart to have Deshaun Watson. I picked him up early because I saw signs in Cam that I realized that maybe he's not going to have MVP-style year. So after last week, I have to sit him this week and just see kind of if he bounces back. You know, I'm not liking what I saw out of him. He's banged up. He still continues to run the ball. Like, take a week to just sit in the pocket and try and pass the ball. Throw the ball away. You know, he's just getting himself banged up, and it's going to be hard for me to start Cam Newton this week. I am starting Christian McCaffrey every week because he's just a playmaker, and at any given time he touches the ball, he could take one to the house, you know.
He's on pace right now to actually beat Anquan Bolden's record for most receptions as a rookie, which I think is like 101 or 103 as a running back. So he's on pace to get over 100 receptions. So that's pretty amazing. And PPR, you have to start him.
You have to start Run CMC, undoubtedly. That guy's
What about Jonathan Stewart? Are you starting?
Jonathan Stewart's another guy that I just can't comfortably put into my starting lineup this week because 2 weeks ago, he had -4 yards, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
I guaranteed people that he would have more yards than -4 in this last game, and he did, but it wasn't anything amazing. He does get little chunks of yardage at a time, but I see this game also being a passing game where Christian gets a lot more work than Jonathan Stewart does. So I've always loved Jonathan Stewart, but it's just he's just not being – I couldn't even really put him in as a flex unless I had a bunch of bye weeks and I had to. So that's not something that I'm comfortable about starting.
Yeah, I agree. One person – what's up?
I was saying going to the receivers about that tough. I mean, I had to start – I got in a position where I had to start Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess last week, and that was a really crappy position to be in.
Well, I was going to ask you, who's starting out of those two?
I'm always starting Kelvin Benjamin. I really am. I love Devin Funchess too, but Kelvin Benjamin is the main receiver in that offense, and Cam loves getting Kelvin the ball.
He's banged up, though. That's the problem.
Totally. And until Kelvin doesn't play, I'm going Kelvin. Otherwise, as soon as Kelvin comes out, then Devin Funchess is immediately very, very fantasy relevant. And there's guys trying to trade me for Devin Funchess all over the place because he still is fantasy relevant. I mean, the last 2 weeks have been very mediocre, but you've seen him get over 20 points multiple games this season already. So, and that's with Kelvin in. So, it's something to look at, but I think Kelvin's still the safer bet to start than Devin Funchess.
No, I agree. And someone else that I think you can definitely start is Ed Dixon. You saw what the Buccaneers did to – I'm sorry. I was going to say the Buccaneers did to the Bills last week, but –
the Bucs are playing the Panthers. So
yeah, they're playing the Panthers. So just kidding on that one. But anyways, let's move on to the next game. Our final game of the day for the podcast is Colts at Bengals. Oh man, the Bengals looked terrible last week. Actually, let me correct myself. They looked pretty good in the first half, and then I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with the play calling. I'm sure you saw the whole Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Joe Mixon said it best. Honestly,
yeah,
I mean he called them out, and Bill Lazor I think kind of needs to listen to that. He's a great offensive coordinator, but man, they took away from their game plan that had them in the game the whole first half. Which, I mean, I really hope that we watch the Bengals play this week, and I'm not saying this because I have Joe Mixon. I just hope that they really try to get that run game established because they have the guys back there to do it. Regardless if it's Mixon, Bernard, Hill, they have 3 guys that are capable backs that could keep them in games and get them up and control the game flow. So it might be Bill Lazor might need to listen to Joe Mixon on this one.
I think it's a pretty good game. Bengals, I do like Joe Mixon. I do like Joe Mixon this week. I think that the Bengals do go up on the Colts, so they do run the ball. I don't think it's a Gio Bernard game. Obviously, Jeremy Hill's already been taken out of the game plan for multiple weeks now.
But why do they keep starting every single offensive possession with Jeremy Hill? I just don't get – and they not only offensive possession – I mean, like, yeah, the whole offense – first offensive drive, Jeremy Hill is always in. I don't understand it.
He's so fantasy irrelevant. It's crazy. And then you look at Gio Bernard, who's going to have his pass catching role. I mean, he's solidified there.
Yeah.
He's going to be the guy catching the ball on third down. Joe Mixon is shown to be so much more efficient than any other running back on that team. So for them not to feed him the ball, it sucks. It sucks for the player of Joe Mixon. But, I read something today that Marvin Lewis said he needs to mature. It's funny that I also read that Marvin Lewis will be out before Joe Mixon will be out. So you'll see Marvin Lewis get fired after this year, and Joe Mixon will be the guy. And he is definitely someone like on your team that is a potential keeper in the keeper league because he's gonna get the carries, and that guy is shown in college that he is amazing. And I mean, even in his limited touches this year in the NFL,
he's shown flashes, man. Yeah. He has the patience of a Le'Veon Bell. Like lets that line develop and finds that hole, and Joe Mixon has the talent, but man, Marvin Lewis has a point. I've seen Joe Mixon on the sideline and his like body language and the way he acts. He gets angry and maybe he does have some growing up to do, and they have 3 backs, so I can understand why they're not just featuring Joe Mixon constantly.
No, absolutely.
That guy. He is young and he still has time to develop. But let's talk about who to start. Bengals offense. I mean, do you start Andy Dalton this week, Dill?
I would stream him. There's 6 bye weeks. He has shown that he can play. The Colts' pass defense is not good.
Malik Hooker out for a year as well.
Out for a year. I mean, you saw it last week. I would definitely start Andy Dalton if I need to. I'm not starting him this week. I got Russell Wilson, so I'm good.
I think that sets up, real quick, A.J. Green for a big bounce back.
Oh, for sure. A.J. Green, I'm starting all day, every week. Tyler Kroft. He has definitely picked up the slack for Tyler Eifert being hurt.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm starting him this week as well. He's a good waiver wire pickup. We talked about him a little bit yesterday in our podcast. So I'm starting Tyler Kroft. I'm starting Andy Dalton, or streaming Andy Dalton. I'm starting A.J. Green, and I'm starting Joe Mixon. I'm rolling with him. I'm not starting Gio Bernard. If at best I'm flexing him if you need a bye week fill-in, but I just don't see him getting a lot of playing time because I do think the Bengals go up on the Colts pretty quickly. So I do think the passing game does pick up for the Colts. I would start T.Y. Hilton this week on a rare occasion, and I would start Jack Doyle, who's been getting tons of targets. He has 18 receptions in the last 3 weeks. So since 4 weeks ago, he's like the number 8 tight end, number 7 tight end. So he's doing a pretty good job. So if you need a tight end this week, definitely Jack Doyle is an option to pick up and plug and play.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even need a score, and he gets 10 points just by receptions
Exactly.
alone. So
Exactly.
he's definitely a guy that you can stream. So, and if he scores, that's all the bonus in the world right there because he's getting the receptions. He's getting those looks by Jacoby Brissett. So, what about flipping to the Colts side? I agree with all those guys on the Bengals, obviously. So, flipping to that Colts side, Dill. How do you feel about the whole Frank Gore, Marlon Mack deal? Are you starting flexing either one of them, or are they sitting on your bench? I mean, in my opinion, I have both those guys on my bench because I don't see either one of them just knowing that they can break out and have a huge game. I mean, Bengals run defense with perfect back, I mean, is pretty beastly, you know.
I agree.
So
I
I
agree.
don't think that this week you feel comfortable with either one of them in your starting lineup.
Well, you talked about Marlon Mack as your number one waiver wire pickup, and he did have his highest percentage of plays last week. I think it's higher this week. I think he sets it even again with a higher percentage of snaps because he's going to be that pass catching back, and I think they do get down pretty quickly, and I think he has a decent amount of reception. So in a PPR league, I definitely think that I would maybe possibly flex him if I needed to. You know, on my roster, I'm not starting him.
That's a good
10-team
point,
league,
though. That's a
I'm
very
not
good
starting
point.
him. I think that you definitely could play him if you need to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he could easily get 10 points. And if he scores a touchdown, that's 15, 16 points that he's going to get you. So Marlon Mack is a sneaky start. If he's on your waiver wire, you have to pick him up. He needs to be rostered in every league, like we talked about in that podcast. He wasn't even on my waiver wire pickups because I assumed that he had more owner percentage, but like you brought up, I think it was like 60% or 40%.
No, it was like 41%.
Yeah, 41%.
He's owned in 41% of leagues, so he surprisingly still is out there. But like we spoke about, I mean, he's someone that you put on your bench because he very well likely could be that number one guy very, very soon. And I could definitely see an upstick in touches here this week even. And that brings up a great point. I mean, they're going to be playing from behind again and having to pass the ball out. And he's a great pass-catching back who could break one easily. So I do like Marlon Mack. Like I said, in waiver wire, I think that's someone you need to add on your team if he's still out there. I mean, because almost 50% of leagues he's gone. So hit or miss. But –
so we're both, I think, on agreement of Bengals beat the Colts this week.
Yes, sir. And that's still a 10 a.m. game. So we still have a couple 10 a.m. games to cover, but we have covered up the Thursday night game, 6:30 a.m. game in London, and most of the 10 a.m. games. So I think we need to wrap up this quick episode, and we're going to come back with a whole the other half of the Week 8 games. So rest of the 10 a.m. games, 125 games, and then Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. So be on the lookout. Like I said, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at The League Pod. Write to us. We'll give feedback. We love it. I had a blast still. Always do.
Man. And, send us your feedback. Let us know what you guys want to hear about. I think that, there's going to be a little bit more from us as a group. I think that we do talk about a little bit more of guys that we think you should trade, you should cut, you should bench, all those little type of things you hear from all these other podcasts. We want to give you guys all the insight. I mean, we've been giving you the starts, the sits, we've been giving you waiver wire pickups, but we want to take our podcast to the next level. So stay tuned with us, guys. And like I said, if there's anyone you want to hear about that you want us to let you know a little bit more information about, please let us know. Like Jake said, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The League Pod. And definitely subscribe to us on YouTube so every time we do post these, you get the alerts. Once again, such an amazing time. I love doing this. I can't wait for our next one. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Jay, have a wonderful night, and we'll talk tomorrow.
You too. Over and out. The League Pod.
What did I do? What did I do? The league, huh?